stop by today to begin my day. What a great day we're going to have in Selma, Alabama today. It's been a long time coming that the foot soldiers of the movement from 1965 get their due recognition. And I wanted to stop by here today to say that the bill, H.R. 431, to give a congressional gold medal to the foot soldiers of the movement from Selma to Montgomery in the march, has passed unanimously, both houses of Congress as of 2 days ago, and is getting to the president's desk next week. So I know that a medal does not a tribute make. I think the greatest tribute that we can give to the foot soldiers of 1965 is to remember to vote in every election, federal, state, and local. I think the story of Selma is not only a Selma story, it really is an American story. Because what the movement in Selma indicates is that ordinary Americans collectively working together can achieve extraordinary social change. And because of that, this nation can change. So I want to say thank you to the foot soldiers for the sacrifices that you've made. So many of us would not be where we are without your courage, your bravery, and I look forward to the day that the United States Congress will give its highest civilian honor, a congressional gold medal, to the foot soldiers of the Selma to Montgomery March. It is an honor for me every day to represent the 7th Congressional District. And it is an honor for me every day to represent my hometown of Selma, Alabama. I want you to know that I know that it's not only an honor, but an awesome responsibility. Why? Because we must make sure that what happened in Selma, Alabama on this day, 50 years ago, is never forgotten. Never forgotten. Because progress is elusive. We must be ever vigilant to continue to make sure that the progress and the gains that we have made continue to be here. But we also know that there's a lot of unfinished business. As long as our brown brothers and sisters are fighting for comprehensive immigration reform, there is work to be done. As long as our young black men, as long as they are more endangered because they're undervalued by our society, there is work to be done. As long as our children in public schools have unequal opportunities, there is work to be done. So I say to all of you, let us enjoy today, but let us also know that this is not about just today. This is not about just today. This is about what we will do to expand the legacy that these foot soldiers have so ably given us. What will we do? What will our generation do to expand that legacy? I challenge each and every one of you to come away with today with a renewed sense of commitment. Commitment to the ideals that those foot soldiers march for. The ideals of equality, justice for all, and the idea that the vote is our voice. The vote is our voice. And none of us can be on the sideline when we're making important decisions about how we spend our taxpayer money. None of us should be on the sidelines. So I say to you all, enjoy today, but remember, the work still continues. Thank you so much.
Dr. Teixeira, who is the state-appointed superintendent, stepped in at my request and completely renovated this auditorium. Not only did he do that, he also painted the hallways. I'd like for Dr. Teixeira to come up and speak for a second.
Thank you so much. You know, we're here to honor some heroes. And the best way you can honor heroes is show respect And one of the things that I didn't feel like this building was doing was showing the respect to a lot of people that attended school here and had sacrificed so much for so many of us. So we did put a lot of effort and a lot of money into it, and we hope they're very proud of it. This was their safe haven. This was the school, when they came to school, this was where they could feel safe. And every one of our schools should be that way. Yesterday, I had the privilege to escort a gentleman who is the Chief General Counsel of the U.S. Department of Education. He was appointed by President Obama to the position. He's a young, humble young man with Southern roots from Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas, and he was so excited to come here. And as we toured Byrd Elementary School and Hudson Middle and Selma High School, he couldn't hold his excitement. And when we got to Selma High School, he said, Dr. Teixeira, this is probably the nicest high school that I've ever been in. And that is a real testament to how important to us education is for our children. And he said he can't wait to go back to Washington to tell people. But one of the things, the reason I want to leave you with this last thought. A couple of months ago, my family and I went to watch the Selma movie. And my 14-year-old son, he wanted to go see a different movie, Mockingjay or something. And he said, Dad, he said, I know about Selma. And I said, what do you know about Selma? He said, well, it had to do with civil rights. And I said, well, what about it? And he couldn't tell me. And I was ashamed of that he couldn't. And then I said, well, what's Bloody Sunday? He couldn't tell me what that was. And he's an extremely intelligent young man. And I was disappointed at that. He went to the movie with us, and as we were walking to the car, he was visibly upset. And he said, Dad, why were people like that back then? And I said, you know, I'm so glad that has upset you, because that tells me you were raised right, and you're going to be the next generation that makes sure that kind of thing never happens again.
Arkansas, there's one other guy here. He drove me to Camden. I was an organizer for SNCC in Camden after Selma, and this guy drove me down and they almost killed him.
Gosh, thank you. My name is Arkansas. I live in Colorado now. I came here on foot. I walked here from Arkansas in a freezing rain, and I wound up in Selma, and it was my new life. The very first day I came to Selma, kids gathered around me and said, where are you from? I said, Arkansas. They say, Arkansas, your name, Arkansas. I just met Edward Kidd today for the first time in 50 years. We got thrown in jail together right here in Selma because we sat on the white folks' side of the courtroom. And then they segregated us in the jail cell, and Jim Clark came in, put a gun on me, and passed out weapons to the KKK prisoners, and pointed a gun at me and said, I don't want you to hurt these boys. So I got to deal with that. That was my beginning right here. And that was the day Malcolm X came to town. So I never got to meet Malcolm because I was in jail that week. All right. I went up to Marion, Alabama, February the 18th, 1965. There was a demonstration coming out of, I think, Mount Zion Church. The state troopers, Al Lingo's commandants, attacked the march, beat heads inside the church, and they killed Jimmy Lee Jackson that night. I was at Burwell Infirmary here in Selma, treating the wounded all night long. Broken heads, broken arms, tear gas everywhere. we got together the next day and we planned the march on Montgomery. I was there on the bridge. I got hit by a truck on the way to the bridge because I was directing traffic because we had no police protection. So I wasn't right at the front, but I was over the bridge. I got my head clubbed. I got my nose rearranged. But anyway, that was going on. I want to give you one little short story. In jail that day, in the courtroom, was a young man named Andy Scruggs from Birmingham. Tall man, had big knots, stuttered severe. He could hardly get a word out. 6 months later, I'm working in a cotton field with Andy Scruggs, and we're picking cotton, and all of a sudden, he starts singing. No, and I'm leaving here. Nobody knows the way I feel this morning. I said, I feel like screaming, scream and cry. I'm a little too cold-hearted. I'd rather lay right down and die. Nobody knows the way I feel this morning. That was Andy Scruggs, who could not speak, but God, he could sing. Singing was the movement. When Cheyenne wrote her book about Bloody Sunday, and in Brown Chapel Church that night, people were moaning and crying and the tear gas, and all of a sudden it turned into a song. Oh, ain't gonna let no tear gas turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let no tear gas turn me round. I'm gonna keep on a-walking, keep on a-talking, marching up to freedom land. And she told the truth.
High school students here in Selma. So Colia Lafayette Clark, her husband Bernard, Dr. Bernard Lafayette, they were on the front lines, came in very early to organize high school students in Selma. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down the line, actually, and I'm going to have each of the foot soldiers introduce him or herself to you. We'll start on the end with Mr. Ed Kidd.
Hello, it's so good to be here this morning and to see all of my classmates and fellow foot soldiers. And this is an honor because we have, as long as I can remember, this is the first time that foot soldiers have been honored.